So let's see. You speculate, you pre order, you plan, you budget, and then sometimes you just get lucky. All right, I've got an unboxing video for you today, and this is an order I placed with Mile High Comics, and I don't know how to explain one of the books that is in this order. It was really just it was two cases of good timing. So first of all, like there was no inside information I had. There was no weird Facebook group that I was a part of that alerted me to all of this madness. But essentially, some news broke with a casting for Madame Web, Spider-Man villain, and prior to that news, the first appearance of Madame Web became available on Mile High Comics. And I essentially just have a habit or a routine, a daily routine of going to their premium new in stock list, and I'll just kind of scan through the books, just kind of eyeball what's there, look and see what's in near mint. And of course, certain titles are going to pop for me. Amazing Spider-Man, X-Men, Fantastic Four, Iron Man, all the big mainstream Marvel titles are usually the ones that I look at. Some DC and anything that has the phrase Star Wars in it, I'm looking at too, obviously. So I saw a whole bunch of new listings for Spider-Man, and I saw Amazing Spider-Man 210 was in there listed as a new release near mint. I quickly plugged it into my spreadsheet just to make sure I wasn't crazy, and I think it was either number one or number two out of almost 5,000 books that I'm tracking. So I'll do that where I see the book and I go and I grab the values from cover price, I look at GPA, and I start to plug in those numbers, and then I also plug in where the book is for sale, and then based on my algorithms, it just tells me whether or not it's a good buy. So this is what happens sometimes. You'll see keys get posted to different sites, and whether it's eBay, it doesn't matter. You would just plug in whatever that sale price is, and then my analysis will basically say whether or not that is a prioritized purchase. So it doesn't necessarily mean it's the greatest deal in the world. It just means, relatively speaking, out of the books that I'm tracking, this is the priority in which you should buy the book. So this Amazing Spider-Man 210 rose right to the top of my list, and I said, okay. So I did that. I think around the same day, there were a couple other Amazing Spider-Man books, and then a couple others, and we'll get to the unboxing. I'll just show you the books that I got, and then we'll go through the order analysis, of course, after the fact. But it was kind of a case of right place, right time, because I placed the order, and I was excited on that day that I placed the order that I was able to get that book. It was a book that's been on, I think, the speculation radar that a Madame Web character or movie was coming, and we didn't know what form. And of course, everybody's saying there's no way it's going to be the old version, it's going to be the modern version. But if you kind of look at Agatha Harkness, obviously she was, and age is funny too. It's like, do we care about the age of the actor? Catherine Hahn did an amazing job as Agatha Harkness, and the Agatha in Fantastic Four and in the comics. Are they the same age? Just because they're the comic version's hair is white, like I don't know. It's all funny and silly. It's wildly entertaining to see people say, okay, character's been cast for a movie or Disney Plus, but it can't be that character because she's too old, she's too young. It's like, it's comics, it's just the character. But of course, there's the Julia Carpenter version and some other variations of Madame Web that people are speculating on. So, it's all fun to me. But it was the day after I bought the book that the news broke, and then that Amazing Spider-Man 210 went back on everybody's radar. So according to everything, the final order confirmation and everything, that book should be in this order that I'm about to open, and I'm definitely going to take it out and grade it alongside with you, so we can take a look and see what condition it is. And then I'll show you what I paid for it and kind of what the market is bearing right now to see if it was good value. My fingers are crossed that the value is still holding since last week, but we'll let the data tell us that story once we get there. So first, let's get the envelope and the box unpacked and go through the books. All right, so here we go. This is the standard package from Mile High Comics in that FedEx envelope. So let's get this guy open. Well, don't miss Hawkeye. You know? Maybe that's a spoiler. Something else that's in here. Let's see. Alright. I wonder if that's unbagged. No? Oh, weird. Huh. Wonder what's in there. Oh, we'll see. Okay. This is a 5-book order. So it's 5 books from Mile High. So if I have the opportunity, I will try and open them and grade them. And let's just get started with the first one here. We've got, hey, what do you know? Spoiler. This is Hawkeye #1. This showed up, I think, on the same new in-stock alert list that showed up when I looked for Spider-Man. And again, I wasn't seeking it out. It just happened to show up on my radar. I want to open this up and see what this is, if it's some sort of poster. Yeah, look at that. So that was in the back. Huh. So that's cool. Love that. Oh, Gambit #1 too. That's pretty cool. I think I might hang this up somewhere. That was just a bonus. It was just in the back of the book, behind the backing board. So let's see what shape this book is in. All right. Now I do have a light off to help with some of the glare, but hopefully you can still, there's enough light that you can kind of see across the cover in terms of any creases. So hopefully that helps with the glare there. As far as the book in general, looks pretty nice. Looking at this corner here, I think that's just the art in around that purple circle there. How about the back? Pretty nice. Let's see if we can get the spine in a little bit more closely here. That looks really, really good. Wow. Strong start to this order because that's a 9.8. I don't see any dirt or anything. Right there I see a little something. A little bit of a crease. So just a standard quick press might get that out. But look at that. Hawkeye #1. You couldn't get anywhere near these Hawkeye books when the show on Disney Plus started. So I'll have to decide. I probably, because of that right there, probably going to give this a 9.6 with a press, just so I remember to go back. There are a couple of right there. Very hard, like right in there, there's a non-color breaking spine tick or spine dent. Very, very subtle, very small. So a 9.6 on that one. Again, with a pressing indicator so that I remember to put it aside for pressing. So yeah, what I do is I just mark it with the grade and I put the letter P just to let myself know that the book should be pressed, can be pressed. And I had switched this process a while back because if there were any pressable defects, I was marking the book as like a pressing candidate. But honestly, what I've done is I've changed it so that it's only if it's really kind of worthwhile to press. meaning if there are pressable defects and I can get those out and there's nothing else that would detract from the overall grade or value. And it doesn't mean that I'm only pressing books if they get a 9.8. It just means like if there's a giant like a fold with a color breaking thing that's going across the book, but then there's some other defects I could press out, I don't mark it as a press because obviously the greatest defect on the book is going to prevent the book from really rising in condition. So I want to look at, I'll show you the book, but I want to look at it last. So there it is, ASM 210. So we'll look at that one last and check out the other books here. So next up we have Spider-Man, not Miles Morales Spider-Man, but Spider-Man Miles Morales, according to Mile High Comics. And this is issue 12. These issues with Miles and Gwen on the cover in any way, shape, or form are hot. Like they were hot. You could say they're cooling off, but they're always great. These are the next two big characters in the MCU. Obviously with Edge of Spider-Verse for Gwen, Ultimate Fallout for Miles, but also the End of the Spider-Verse and so on. But this is the future, and this is a great cover. Works either way, upside down. I think it was the variant of this. It might have been a 1 in 25 or something, and I got it slabbed in a 9.8. I posted it for sale, and it sold in like an hour. So I wanted to get the regular copy so I could get one back in my collection. So let's open this one up and take a look at the grade. But yeah, if you're collecting Miles, you're collecting Gwen, it's nice when you can get some books with both of them. Now, as soon as I kind of put it up into the light, I noticed there's a couple of gashes right in here. So right there by my thumb, there and up here as well. Now, I don't think that they are full on. Well, yeah, that one is a color break, just slightly on the edge there. It's color break. That one, hard to tell. That could be a tack iron fix right there. I'm not sure, but pretty severe. That one's about 3/4 of an inch right there. So that one's pretty rough. But definitely, this one's still worth a press even with that slight color break. I feel like we're probably talking 9.2, 9.4. So kind of go through here and look. I don't see any other dents. Let's look at the spine here. Book feels solid. Honestly, it's just those two dents on the front. So, honestly, if there were one, I would give it a 9.4, but because there are two and they're pretty bad, I'm going to say 9.2 with the press on that one. So you might look at that and go, yeah, that's totally pressable. It should be like a 9.6. I don't do that. I still stick with my conservative grading because you never know. You might screw up the press. You might crunch the staples. Who knows? So I try and just be really fair with how it is. But the corners on that book look really, really sharp. No real complaints otherwise. Just like, it's almost like the book folded over a couple of times there. So that's definitely one that could be, I would say, fixed very easily. There's no reason to clean it. It looks in really, really great shape otherwise. So that's one. I'd put a little bit of humidity in both of those spots. Take the tack iron, go to work on it a little, and it should be good to go. Like I said, I think that I could take that one from a 9.2 to a 9.6. Okay, next up, Amazing Spider-Man 256. Unfortunately, I see a lot of spine ticks on this one, so just go ahead and open this one and show you. For some reason, I keep buying these with the first appearance and second appearance of Puma. But yeah, take a look at this. So, like, spine tick there and there and there and there and there and there. So, as soon as I see a book like that that has multiple spine breaking ticks, and when I say multiple, you've got, and it's miswrapped. So not a great book. If I saw this at like that convention I was at, I'd pass. I'd pass on it. So again, this is the con to not going to the con is that you don't get to see it. So there's a crease in here, right there. So you've got that going. So I just kind of work backwards. So that crease probably puts it at a 9.6, 9.4, and then we start just going through here. We're getting 9.2, 9, probably 8.5. Corner issue just under the corner up there, right there. So now it's like 8, 8.5. Let's look at the back. If the back holds up, it's at least an 8. And one spine tick looked like it wrapped around there. A little bit of a dent there in that corner ding there. So, yeah, it's just a matter of deciding between an 8 and an 8.5. There are no tears on it, which is nice. And the corners are okay. They're not great. But the fact that that one looks crushed, I'm going to go with an 8.0. What I do is when I get in those situations where is it an 8, is it a 9, and you can see right in the light too. We've got a potential little spine pushing issue here, a little bit of a rolling or curling that's happening. So then it just sort of reinforces the grade of an 8. So this is the kind of a good example. I used to mark a book like this as a pressing candidate because I'm like, well, I could get that out of the book. But with the spine ticks, what would I do? I'd get it from an 8 to an 8.5. It's not worth my time. So I'm going to put an 8.0. So that book was, it wasn't cheap, but didn't pay too much for it, relatively speaking. This was the cheapest book out of the order. This is Amazing Spider-Man 271. No real key here. Again, more issues of Peter Parker in the black costume. So he's wearing that symbiote costume without him really knowing that it's Venom yet. Okay, so this one doesn't feel like it's a 9.8, but let's take a look. Can see right in there, spine issue. Those look to be pressable. It's slightly miswrapped. Again, that doesn't affect the condition, but I always point that out because I'm looking for near perfectly wrapped books. I don't know if that's a color rub or a tear there. I don't think it's a tear. It's just a printing issue. So this one looks to be a pressing candidate. Let's look at the back. A little bit of a color rub issue there. So that I'm probably thinking, that's actually, now that I move it into the light a little bit, back and forth here, it's actually a scratch. Yeah, right there you can see. Scratches I don't know what to do with because the scratch actually creates a problem in the page and it breaks color. So now I'm rethinking the press candidate, a little bit of a, let's get that in there. See right there, a little bit of a push that's creating a dent. Spine looks okay. Yeah, if it wasn't that scratch on the back. So this is another reason why you want to take books out of the bag and board when you're at an LCS or show, wherever you're buying books in person. You want to examine the book because at first glance, I would look at this and go, this is a 9.6 with the ability to press it into a 9.8. Then you turn it over and it has that about 1/3 of an inch scratch right there that probably drops it to a 9.2. Could argue for a 9, but it's a pretty strong book otherwise. There's a slight softening on that corner there. Same on the bottom. There's just a touch of a corner problem there. I'm trying to hold it steady. There you go. Now you can see it right there. It's really small, but again, I'm trying to think back at my other books that are graded a 9.0, and I think they have more problems than this one does. That's where I'm leaning 9.2. If it were a key, I would probably consider pressing it just because. I'm going to leave it as a 9.2, but not indicate that it could be pressed. So that was the cheapest book out of the 5. I always like to see which books across which stores deliver books that can be pressed too. Because if you're confident in your pressing ability, then you can kind of factor that in to whether or not you're going to buy books from that store. Okay, so here we go. At first glance, it is miswrapped and crunched. Look at that staple. Right. I mean, I'll take it out now. So I can already tell this is not a 9/8 candidate. And I wonder if I'm going to check and see, because that is something I do look at to see if somebody tried to press it. The staple basically disappearing like that. You can see there, it just kind of slides right in. Almost like it's detached. So that's really unfortunate. Like, so if I decide to press this book, it's going to look like I did it. I created the... there's Madame Web right there. Well, let's look at the rest of the book. I don't necessarily see any other evidence of pressing. Like, the spine looks normal. It's unfortunate. The back looks really white and crisp. I don't think there's anything to do from a cleaning perspective. And that spine looks immaculate. Little slight problem there. So I don't know. I'm trying to look for evidence of pressing. Up at the top, there's a little bit of kind of folding right around there. So it's hard to say. You know, it looks really great, except for that staple. And I don't know what to make of the staple. So if you have an idea or a comment about that, let me know. But I do see when you hold the book like this, and even that staple's not clean. So it's either just a bad staple on the wrapping, but when you see the spine, it's hard to get on camera. You see the spine come down here, and then it moves that way towards the staple, then comes back out. That's usually when somebody screws it up in the press. It's almost like I want to send it into CGC by itself and just see what they would give it, because it really looks clean otherwise. I don't see any problems with it. So I don't even know what grade to give this, because I'm either being really, really picky. Somebody might have pressed this already and pressed it clean but screwed up the staple. I feel like I want to give it a 9.4. There is a little bit of something there that I would have to potentially try and clean up. Corner is acceptable. It's borderline soft, but looks pretty good. And then this corner here looks fine. That corner, a little bit of a overlap, but this is a tough one. I really don't know. I'd have to do some research on it. I'm leaning 9.4. Just leave it as a 9.4, and it is what it is. I can't imagine CGC saying this is like a 7 or an 8 because the staple. I just don't want to get punished by anyone because I didn't press this book and it looks like it was an error of some kind. Now, I understand maybe the book naturally just has a defect or something like that, but like I said, I mean, I have messed up books where I have not properly created the sandwich, and what happens is the page just hangs over enough, right? So the front and back cover come over the newspaper pages, and then they collapse on each other, and that's what creates that disappearing staple effect. So I almost want to put 9.4 question mark, but I'm just going to leave it 9.4. Having this book in a 9.4, I think it's great. I'm not complaining about it being in high grade. I think I'm more concerned, and I don't know what to do about that staple. So I'm going to leave it as a 9.4. I'll do a little bit of research and see if I can find some information on like staple crunching or staple pushing, and see if I can figure out what that means in terms of the grade. I didn't find any other defects on the book. So if I can find evidence that something like that is okay, I can't imagine that it is. I think that it has the ability to be a 9.6 or a 9.8 all by itself. So those are the books, those are the grades I gave them. I didn't get any 9.8s from these 5 books. I think that the Hawkeye #1 is as close as you're going to get. I think a nice, quick, clean press on that without screwing it up. And you could see what I mean. Like, this is normally what a staple looks like. It's right there on the side. So I think this has a chance to be a 9.8. I don't know if the others, I don't think they do have a shot. It's possible this one could, if I can really work that out, but I think the spine ticks are color breaking, so that one would be 9.6. But close on these two, close on this one too. This one's weird. So let me show you the order, what I paid for these books, and see, even in the current grades that I gave them, did I get value? Okay, so before I show you the order analysis, I did want to show you, I found a couple of threads on the CGC forums, and in this particular forum thread, they're calling it a recessed staple. I was calling it staple crunch. Here, I can even zoom in a little bit just to kind of show a little bit more detail here. So you can see right in here, the spine goes this way, and then it drops in for the staple and comes right back out. And this forum thread, and again, right here on the bottom too, look at this. So these high-res images really show you, and again, that staple crunching, even showing the spine ticks around this. Again, these are just forum users and not necessarily, employees of CGC, or certainly not graders. But it says CGC is usually pretty lenient on recessed staples. And again, if you're looking for presentation, I kind of agree with this. Personally, I hate the look of recessed staples. I do too. I think the ASM 210 copy that I have here, it's not. I don't think it's as deep as the one in this image. But in any case, I wouldn't purchase them either, just like I wouldn't purchase a miswrap. Yeah, here it is again. And now they're talking about the grades, 9.2. But it does say here, here's Tony S. Says he was posting here when you were in diapers. Recessed, or sometimes referred to as impacted staples, are a common printing defect. Books stapled with too much force. At worst, it's the staple that can cut right through the paper off cover. It can also be a defect caused by poor pressing. So that I've seen. Now, for the most part, he says CGC gives printing defects a pass, and it doesn't have an effect on the grade. Yeah, it says recessed indented staples are a very common manufacturing feature on this issue, more than any other Marvel issue I've seen. So sometimes you could think back in the day when everything got sent off to the printing press and the printer was just set off a little bit, then you'd see hundreds and hundreds or thousands of books come back with the same problem. Here is another one. Let's see. Yeah, I just wanted to show you here. This had multiple issues here. And this, you could see just how severe this is. The middle book, and then this one here. This is probably the one on the right, is about the same as that ASM 210. Again, very common, does not affect the grade unless it's severe. So I feel like unless I send that book to CGC as is, I don't feel confident saying, well, that will be ignored, so I have a 9.8. So I'm going to kind of play the middle and regrade it as a 9.6. Again, they're my books. I'm only going to keep them in my PC or grade them in those grades, and then if I decide to sell it, obviously I would include pictures and things like that. So if somebody wanted to pass on that book with a recessed staple, then that's on them, and that's perfectly fine. Yeah, I see it quite a bit on Early Image, Valiant, and Vertigo books as well. So it's possible that that just could be manufacturing. If that does pass for just a manufacturing defect on this, then I have a 9.8 on this ASM 210. So let's look at what I paid for these and see if they have value. Okay, so here is the order in all of its glory. This was, again, a 5-book order I placed with Mile High Comics on January 31st, 2022. The Madame Web information came out February 1st, 2022. Again, I don't have inside information. It was pure dumb luck on my part, and I guess you could say good timing. And I really wasn't thinking the character was going to enter the news cycle. I just saw it as a good value buy once it popped on Mile High Comics. So here's the total. I used the 60% off code, and the total order cost $169.20. And looking at my total cost in column Z here, applying the additional money for insurance across the 5 books, this was my actual cost. So if we're looking at fair market value, that ASM 210 here in the second row, the raw book right now is $168.60 according to cover price. So I'm sorry, $215. So my profit or my value add is $168.60, but it's over a $200 book raw. Again, that's an average across all grades. That is a super high grade copy. Whether you believe the recess staple was a manufacturing flaw, a pressing thing, or it should affect the grade or not, to me it's irrelevant, because if I scanned that book and I said, I'm not a professional grader, so look at the pictures, look at the scans, it would sell for over $200 in my opinion. So again, just kind of ran into some good fortune there. That's really carrying the order. It's again, I talk about this a lot. Mile High is not a great place to flip books unless you somehow stumble on a book like this the day before news breaks. But you could see here, like even the Spider-Man 12 with Miles and Gwen on the cover. I paid $41.20, and it has a raw book value of $31.89. So the total value that I'm adding, again, carried by ASM 210, is $170.61. Now, there's a couple things that I want to point out. This column AB I call CGC profit. Again, I really should just rename it raw value and CGC value add or something like that. What I've done here is I've removed this calculation that I was doing where I take the fees and the shipping costs of sending books to CGC, and I've removed that if the book has no value in that particular grade. Meaning if it's like a 5.0 and there's no record in GPA of any sales and it just doesn't have any value, then I just leave the CGC value as 0. I was kind of doing a thing where I was saying, well, if I sent all the books in blindly, what would it have cost me? But I'm not going to do that. I'm never going to do that. And I had to make it more realistic, which is if I find out that a book has value slabbed, what is it going to cost me to slab it? And then what is my value after I get the book back? That's really what I want to know. So I changed that going forward. So hopefully that makes more sense. So if any of these books don't have a CGC value, then column AB says 0. So a lot of my previous orders that had like a huge negative in terms of the CGC profit column, those have all been adjusted so that I can actually see. And again, the premise there is, let me take just the books that I know have some value slabbed in that grade, and what would that cost? All right, so now to plug in the grades just to see. So using the sort of Mile High formula or theory, if I'm trying to get near mint books, according to the industry and everything that we know, a 9.4 is that, let me get rid of a decimal here, 9.4 is near mint. So here with Hawkeye number 1 and a 9.4, it has a CGC value of $75. So after it's all said and done, this is why I changed the formula around. So if I were to get that book slab, so you take the total cost of the book and then all of the fees to get that book graded, I would lose $6.43. So if that book is truly a 9.4, which it's not, I already graded it, but if it was, it wouldn't be worth sending in. And so that's what that tells me. And that's more important. Let's hold off in the 210 because that's the big one. ASM 256 and a 9.4 is $89. So that one was a good pickup. 271 and a 9.4, not a desirable book. That would have been a big loss if I were to get that one graded. And Spider-Man 12, same thing. Yeah, modern book and a 9.4, $46 in that. Now, I originally graded this book 9.4, so let's see. And in a 9.4, $320. So that's interesting to me that it has a raw value of 215 and a 9.4 CGC slab value of 320. I would have thought it would have been maybe twice as much, but maybe it's just the market trying to catch up with itself. I don't know. But again, that book clearly is carrying this order. It was the whole premise of me placing this order. I just happened to catch that Hawkeye and Spider-Man 12 on the same day that 210 came out, and the other two books I just saw for good value and wanted to grab them to make it kind of a nice 5-book order. Now, if I want to change these to 9.8, let's work backwards and see what the potential was. So again, being carried by 210. On the low end, I'm looking to add value of about $228 to my collection. But if these were 9.8, what would I be expecting to add on the high end range? So 271 flips to $137. 256 goes to $337. How about Spider-Man 12? Yeah, $157. Hawkeye number 1, $265. And last but not least, ASM 210 goes all the way up to $1,192. So in this case, I have a high-end potential value add of $1,757.68. Now, we looked at the books. They're not all 9.8. Some of them could be pressed into that, but those are the numbers that I'm looking at when I'm placing the order. Now, I've never received an order of books from Mile High where they're all 9.8. So what I do is I'm just doing that to set a range. I'm setting myself a range to say if these books are all 9.8s, that's the high end, so that's the most I could gain, and then this is the least I could gain or lose, and then I determine whether or not I should actually place the order. So let's plug in the actual grades, and let's see what that looks like. So the Hawkeye gave a 9.6, 140, still a decent value add. So Spider-Man 12 is a 9.2, $18, that's a loss. 256 is an 8. ASM 271, 9.2. And again, the 210 I'm leaving as a 9.6. And in a 9.6 at $469. So again, carried heavily by ASM 210, but also Hawkeye snuck in there. Got the 9.6 on that one as well. So I'll indicate which books needs a press and things like that. Now, I'm going to send in ASM 210, and I'm not touching it. I'm going to just send it in as is. It was, in my opinion, a low-risk purchase at the time. In terms of the potential value, even before the news, it just had a lot of spec and value as is. So I'm not going to touch it. I don't see anything else wrong with it. And it would be a good experiment. Now, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to see the results of that experiment for many, many months, thanks to the CGC turnaround time. I'm not in a hurry to get slabs back from CGC, so I don't mind just sending them in, as sort of with that value tier, or I'm not going to basically send it in with as an express or anything with a faster turnaround. So hopefully you'll still watch some of these videos as I go through, and you'll wait for those books to come back from CGC. I'm right on the verge of moving away. So my next couple of CGC orders that are coming back was basically before all of this spreadsheet madness, and have using the spreadsheets. It was kind of the last go around of books that I would identify for sending off to CGC using Go Collect. And then since Go Collect completely destroyed their interface and made it almost unusable with very little value or data that's interesting to me, I switched over to spreadsheets, and I've been slowly putting in data and converting it. So long story long, I'm just now starting to send books out using this. So hopefully in the coming months, you'll see these CGC unboxing videos with books like ASM 210 included. And it'll be fun to kind of go back and say, okay, well, this was a book that, all of the data told me to send in. I got it back. This was the grade. Remember this one with the recess staple. And we can kind of learn together whether or not, it's worthwhile to do this and send it in. So I hope you enjoyed this unboxing and this whole crazy kind of story of how I acquired ASM 210. And then the story got crazier because it had that recess staple, and I don't know how it got there. And I'm hoping it's just a manufacturing defect, and I will leave that up to the professional graders to determine. Thanks for watching, happy collecting, and see you next time.